our guests. We have our special guests.
Am I special?
You are very special. Marc Maron is here.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, my God. You know, I told this story to everyone. Everyone stops me and asks about when I did your show. And I tell them, that is so funny because you don't know how close I was to turning around and going the other way.
Because
From the
podcast?
I remember.
Because I couldn't find it. I know of Highland Park, but it's like this Bermuda Triangle in my mind of where it's placed in L.A.
Sure.
Where is it?
It's east. You know, it's sort of right between Glendale and Pasadena, just shy of Eagle Rock. But in my recollection, you were not updated in your technology, and you chose to go it without.
Exactly. That's what happened. Is I don't do
No,
GPS.
he'll do a Thomas guide before he does that.
You know what I do? I'll look on the computer before I leave somewhere and go, oh, I see. There's the 5. You get off there.
Is
and
that
you go
just because is that sort of a mental exercise so you don't go senile? Because there's no reason to fight GPS
I
at
agree.
this point.
Well, there are times when I have used it when it was too confusing. And ironically, strangely, it was a few weeks ago when it was near that place again. There are a bunch of filming studios over there off of Worth or something like that.
Yeah.
That's near that area. That whole area for me here in Los Angeles is a Bermuda Triangle.
The Glendale, Highland Park, Pasadena, Eagle Rock.
No, it's not that part of it. It's the lower part, the part that's closer to the 10. The part that's closer to the 10. And that sort of quadrant east of downtown, and north of the 10, that whole area.
Yeah, I don't know anything
there.
About that.
Yeah,
I know my area. I know where we are.
Yeah, but see,
I know that the ocean is west.
But you're from New Jersey too, aren't you?
I'm from the East Coast. I was born in Jersey. Yeah, my family's from Jersey. But yeah, that orientation thing.
Well, I'm from Jersey, and for me, growing up in New Jersey, then moving to New York City when I was 17, and spending equal amount of time there.
Yeah.
When you move to LA, they do everything but southeast corner, and I don't like. Is it on the right or the left?
I can't. No, I'm completely confused. When you're brought up and you're oriented that the ocean is east.
Well, that too.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to switch
Turn everything
it's
around.
weird.
Yeah.
But I know that I never go there.
But even so, you never
I know
went.
That if I have to go to the west side, I'm like, is there any way that we can change this? This is about as far west as I go. For you guys, that was it.
Aww.
What is that about?
Yeah, everything's
about
over
going
here.
No, I'll come here, but this is about
We're
as
in
far.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood's about it. Because once
So
I
fuck
go
the valley.
Well, the valley's a little different. Depends where in the valley. But if I go to Santa Monica or Culver City, it's like from where I live, you got to pack a tent, a sleeping bag,
for sure.
2 meals.
Yeah.
But
Are you
anybody
kidding?
does to go to Santa Monica.
It's like 4 hours out of your day. I can't take it.
Right,
I agree.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, the reason I will learn a map and figure out where I'm going is it's the Boy Scout in me. Is that I want to know tactilely. Is that a word?
Yeah.
How I got there and how to get out of it and what's the escape route.
Sure.
Because I can't just
Oh,
trust.
there's no escape from here.
No, there's no escape.
True.
There's no getting out.
No getting out of it. No, but that's why I do that. But, there are times when I will pull out the GPS.
Yeah, well, I never could understand a Thomas guide. To me, that was the most baffling piece of literature
And
ever
it was
created.
huge, and you can't.
But I never knew how they connected.
They
or
didn't
how
connect.
They did. It was
They didn't
stupid.
connect.
It's stupid. They're probably out of business, right?
I would
they have
think.
to be.
Yeah,
You have
they have
one
to be.
street on one page. 10 pages later would be the next street.
Yes.
But some people knew it. Like some people
Yes.
relied on it. They could do it. But I always had one when I was out here back in the day.
I always had one back
but
then.
I was like,
Never
this
opened
is
it.
crazy.
Yeah.
The other day on my front porch was a Yellow Pages.
What?
They had delivered. They still deliver.
They still deliver them.
I feel bad. I feel like they're wasting. This
They are
planet is
wasting.
so fucked.
I don't know,
is.
but I think that might be a class thing. I mean, from what I can tell, there's still a lot of people in the country that don't have good internet, that may not have computers, that are still operating at a fairly what we would call seemingly primitive way. That I still think they must. Some people still use them.
Can't they use a census and figure that out?
Well, no, I think
You know
it's
what I mean?
true. I think there are a lot of people that are either set in their ways or don't have access to a lot of
Still?
things we have access to.
Still?
Yeah,
Are you
sure.
kidding? I don't think my father's listened to a podcast that I've done. He claims he can't figure it out.
It's a purple button on your phone.
I think it's something deeper than that. But he claims that I interviewed the goddamn president
of the United States of America.
I do not think my father listened to it. And at that point, I won't get into it with him because I know that it's not going to go well.
Right.
But what does he say when people say your son interviewed Obama? That was amazing. Yeah, I can't figure out how to download it.
Okay, now
Bigger problem.
between you and me and Michelle,
Yeah.
what is that about? Does he not?
I have a joke that I do sometimes, and it's not really a joke. It's an observation that I think all father-son relationships on some level are a battle to the death.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that there are some men, there are some fathers that I somehow achieved enough selflessness to be proper parents and selfless enough to give their kids a sense of self. But some fathers, I think it's not unusual for them to be hyper-competitive, self-involved. And my father, I believe, is a narcissistic person, almost pathologically, to where they can't see you as anything but an extension of them.
All right.
And once you defy that, then it's just a threat.
Right.
And so then that's that.
Yeah.
So you're a threat, and you got to keep kind of maintain appearances. So you pay lip service to love and missing and, how you doing or whatever. But on some level, they remain disinterested because you're no longer an appendage.
Right. Well, I think that's probably the biggest challenge in being a parent is being able to let the evolution of the relationship fall in the healthy place it should. Because initially, this young person who comes to you you're actually their ward. You have to take care of them.
You control everything they do.
Yeah.
Everything. At that one point, when you send them off to kindergarten, they're out of your hands, and you then help nurture them through gentle nudges or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on, the relationship changes on. But I think most people do not change the relationship. They always, because the parent wants to feel in control, and the parent is also looking at their own mortality. If that kid is evolving into a man, that means
dying.
that I'm dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have kids? Do you want to have kids?
No, I'm not. I think I'm through the tunnel on that. I think
You think you cleared
I
it?
dodged a
With
dodged
the
a
Holland
bullet.
or the Lincoln?
Either one.
Yeah.
Whichever's the quickest.
No, I didn't. One thing I've realized lately, because I've had opportunities. I've been married twice, and I guess people say you're a man, you could always have them, but I'm like, why would I do that now?
Yeah.
And when I really think about it, when I was a kid, it was never my dream. Some
Right.
people don't even think twice about it. I'm going to have kids. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm going to have kids. I never thought that. I think all I was thinking was, I just want to feel okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my goal. I just want to feel okay. So I'm kind of there, and I like kids okay, and I'm not sure. I wouldn't be. I think I'd be a good father, but it was not. I don't know. I know from how I was brought up that I'm self-involved. I'm incredibly panicky. I'm full of dread. I'm not always positive. And I know that a lot of people say, like, well, kids, you change.
But you're Jewish, aren't you?
I'm Jewish.
Part of nature.
Yeah, I know. But my parents didn't do a great job. I survived. I did okay for myself. And I appreciate the good things they gave me. But, my brother's got a few kids and he's doing okay. And it's very challenging. And I don't know that on a deeper level that I could override the emotions that I was brought up with.
Right.
And that seems to be the goal. But I think that success rate on that is probably 50-50.
I'm with you on that, and I've always felt the exact same way. I didn't want to pass on any of the craziness, even inadvertently, without even knowing
And that's
about
how it happens.
That's what happens.
Sure.
And then a lot of people my age and younger who have children try to circumvent that thing, and they screw their kids up even more.
Well, I'm probably screwing mine up royally. That's why one has depression, the other one hates me. But at the same time, I made it a point in my life to do, I was telling Rue, the opposite of the things.
But see, I think that's
that
a
I hated
mistake that
growing
people.
up. Yeah,
I think that's a mistake.
Probably.
That's what my brother
Probably
does.
is.
Yeah.
Probably
They
is.
overcompensate in a way
Correct.
where they think, oh, I'm going to take the pressure off of the kid, so the kid doesn't have to worry about this. But then
Right.
they get this mamby-pamby entitled little brat
Right.
who doesn't know the struggle.
And I'm like backpedaling and doing the work to fix what I fucked up.
right.
Right. Well, that's also that only doing that consciously is only actions. It doesn't fix who you are emotionally, and
Right.
ultimately those things are going to read subtly. They're not going to read through action.
Exactly. The best way to be a great parent is to be yourself. Be a great person.
Yeah.
They say if you want to find someone to fall in love with who is your dream,
Yeah.
you be that person. And I think the same thing is true for children.
Lately, I've been talking about on stage. I've been saying that look, if you're emotionally fucked up, because I'm in a pretty healthy relationship now, but it's not
With
healthy.
Satan.
Yeah, of course, always.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean with a woman as
Oh.
well. Yeah, threesome.
Oh, okay.
Me and Satan and Sarah. But
That sounds like a book title.
it should be. I'll write
It
that
might
down.
be. Give them a few months.
But I realize that, like, you know, you get older, so things, you give less of a fuck about things. You know,
Right.
that used to be really taxing and emotionally daunting, and that just happens naturally with age. But I think that the fundamental emotional wiring that you are, it's not going to change much.
Right,
I mean,
right.
all you can really learn is how to shut the fuck up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. You know, just sort of like make better choices for yourself. So, like, for me, it's not easy for me on a day-to-day basis in my head. But when I interact with people, it's become better. But, you know, leave me to my own devices, I'll spin out. But
Right.
like if that's why my podcast is so important to me on a personal level, is like I talk to 2 or 3 people a week,
Yeah.
you know, in-depth conversation about a lot of different things, one-on-one, face-to-face. And it's good for me
Yeah.
to get out of myself and to listen to other people and to, you know, that's the way you change, really, is by showing up for other people. And I guess that plays into the parenting thing to some degree. But like getting back to that, I think what's really important is the allowing your kid to be their own person. You know, one way or the other. Because if you're panicky and worried and you only see them as part of you and, you know, whatever is going to happen to them is going to imply something about you, that's one way of smothering. But the other way is just like being too nice and too, like at some point, it was brought to my attention that the primal union between mother and child has to be separated. Like, you know, and it's almost a conscious thing. Like, they're going to be what they're going to be. Like,
Sure.
I imagine, how old are your kids?
15 and 17.
Right. So, I mean, you know, you can't, what are you going to do?
Nothing. I'm finding out the fucking hard way.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because whatever I say doesn't matter anyway at this point.
Well, but you know, you've already said it. Your work is really done, and how they are able to process information and problem solve for themselves. It's you have to push the kids out of the nest, and because it's interesting. When I became an adult, I didn't have the processing tools to deal with intimate relationships, and I saw what my mother went through after the divorce. She basically locked herself in her room for about 2 years, and had she said to me during that time, Rue, you know what? The truth is, I am so hurt by what happened, and I don't know how to process this information, and I'm actually struggling. right now. But she didn't say anything.
No.
So I saw, and I actually have a lot of that same behavior pattern.
That
in me.
impulse?
The impulse
Isolating?
to say, shut everyone
withdraw.
out. And I would hate to do that to a kid.
Did you see that? You know, it was a great scene. It's just in my mind. Did you see that? What was that HBO show, The Little Lies show?
Big
Big Little Lies.
Big Little
Lucky
Lies.
looks at me because I'm the female.
I thought it was great.
No,
It
these
was
kids,
fucking
they've gone
brilliant.
crazy. The producer here has given me his HBO, because I cut the cord recently, his HBO pass so I can watch
It
it.
is so
That scene
well done.
between Reese Witherspoon and her
And the
daughter,
daughter?
where she tells her not to sell her virginity online, that was exactly what you're talking about, where she had to offer up her own vulnerability
Yes.
Yes.
so the kid could go like, mom's a person
Yes.
that struggles, and now I'm going to integrate that into my decision-making process emotionally.
Yeah. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
And not every parent is willing to do that, because they'd have to break the fourth wall. They'd have to break themselves down and become vulnerable. And that is what's
Right, but the tricky thing there, I would imagine, is like you don't want to take it a step further and then go ask your kid, well, what should I do?
right.
That was sort of like somewhat of the issue that I had growing up. Like my mother was incapable of making decisions for me because she didn't feel confident in that because of her own insecurity. So if I would say, can I go do this thing? She'd go, do you want me to say no?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Bless her. That's sweet.
Oh, my God. And how is that manifested in your relationships with women?
Well, it makes me a lot of times it's a little paralyzing in the sense that I defer. Hey, what is it exactly that I do? Like I tend to tolerate a lot, you know, to a certain degree, and then when I stop tolerating, I shut down or I rage out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'll put up with a lot
Yeah.
because I think I have to.
Yeah. But, you know, everything we're talking about is so, because I know ultimately ultimately kids come here, they have their own agenda.
Yeah.
And they're going to work. In fact, they say, you know, you choose your parents on some level.
That's what they say.
So that you can work through some angle, and whatever happens, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that because of for me, what I've noticed, and I've thought, I've done a lot of research into trying to figure out certain things about myself and about people, is that, my father was a little emotionally absent and erratic, and what you end up doing is seeking, parents in life. I used to do a line where I said, emotionally, I'm like a kid lost at a mall. Just walking around going, Mommy, Daddy.
Yeah.
So you look for these role models.
That's scary.
It is scary. That's the weird thing about not having a sort of lid on your personality or your sense of self, is that you do move through the world a little too vulnerable in a way that you don't have control over.
Yeah.
And I figured it out. I wrestled it out.
We're going to go to break in a minute, but have you found Mommy and Daddy out there in the mall?
Yeah. Apparently it's inside me.
Hello.
The food court.
Yes, exactly. No, that's that.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
the food court's very important.
Yes.
Yeah. I go to the food court a lot.
Yeah, we all
yeah. No, that's a perfect point.
Self-parenting is the answer, and it's a weird thing, and it may seem like a psychobabble, but you got to give yourself a break, and you got to treat yourself better.
You're absolutely right. We've got Marc Maron with us. What a treat. I'm
Nice
so
to see
excited. Yes. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Let's talk about Squatty Potty, Michelle.
Let's do.
Yes, I love my Squatty Potty. It makes everything more better.
And the thing is, Rue, you don't realize how much you need it until you use it.
Until you use it.
And you're like, what have I been waiting for?
Well, I got to confess, the first time I had a high colonic, they were in the after you get the high colonic, they're in the bathroom so that you can eliminate the rest of the waste.
Easier.
Yes. And that's when I was first introduced to them. So now I have one in my house.
Honey, Squatty Potty offers the ultimate in complete elimination, just like Rue's saying. If those people that specialize in cleaning out your colon have them there, trust me, this is the way to go. The science is simple. Squatting at the toilet unkinks the colon, allows your body to shed all that stuff on the inside. Squatty Potty offers multiple toilet stool designs and different sizes.
Okay.
7 and 9 inch.
Oh dear. Oh
know.
my good. Ouch.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I can only handle the 7. But the 9 inch works for some people.
Yeah. I have a 7. I'm gonna have to work my way up to the 9.
Something tells me you're gonna not have a problem at all. I don't know what it is. Join the movement by visiting squattypotty.com/Rue. Receive a free bottle of Fruity Booty toilet spray with a purchase of $20 or more. Remember, you guys, a happy colon is a happy life.
That's right. We are back with Marc Maron. So much to talk about. A minute ago, we talked about Obama. How did you land the Obama? In my mind, the Obama interview was brought to you because this is how I imagine it.
Yeah.
I thought he's got all these really cool people working with him who know the pulse, who know how to present a 21st century presidency. And so he's reaching out to the new media
The cool kids.
to say, this is who I am. This is who we are as Americans. Am I right?
That is kind of what happened. Yeah, I think there were some fans of the show on his staff, and they thought it would be an interesting idea to have the president do it, and they started reaching out. And my producer, Brendan McDonald, and myself were like, oh, that's crazy. Really? The president? And we kind of said, that's not going to happen. And over the year, they check in every few months, and then all of a sudden, it looks like it's going to happen.
Did they come to Highland Park?
Yeah. I said, well, that was the thing
In
I
your
said.
garage?
Yeah.
The president of the United States was in your garage.
Where you were.
You're
Same
kidding.
chair.
Well, he sat in my chair?
Yeah, he did.
How'd it feel?
It was
Talk me through it.
Yeah, so that was the weird thing is when they said it's going to happen, I was like, well, what do I got to do? I'm going to D.C. I'll do whatever I got to do. And Brendan was like, no, they want to come to the garage. I'm like,
With the Secret Service?
That's fucking ridiculous. No, yeah, it was crazy, man.
Was your neighborhood like, what the fuck is going, like actual WTF?
Well, what happened was it was funny because I don't register things properly, and I had planned a trip to Hawaii, and of course they wanted to come like then.
Yes.
And I said to Brendan, I said, can't they, reschedule? And Brendan's like, are you out of your fucking mind? It's the president. And I said to him, well, I paid for the trip with points. I don't want to lose the points.
I'm so with you, Mark. Like, I'm so there with you. I get it.
And Brendan's like, you can afford to buy a new ticket and reschedule it. I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like,
Not refundable.
and he placated me, but never in his mind did he think that we weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I went to Hawaii where I usually go, and and what happened was they had to come to the house. I went. I think I switched it a little bit, so I was flying back literally the day before the interview. But I brought his first book, Dreams for My Father, right? Or For My Father, I think, which he wrote before he was had presidential aspirations, really, and it was a memoir about his, coming into manhood and his relationship with his father. Because I thought to do what I do and to not politicize the podcast, other than having the president at that time on it, I wanted to do what I do, which is connect with the guy. So I figured, I'll read that book, and then I got to figure that guy's still in there. So that was my agenda. And while I was away, the Secret Service, a couple of them came over to the house to do the preliminary kind of scouting and to figure out what the perimeter would be and all that. And Brendan flew in from New York to meet them there. And he said it was funny because they were looking for a place to put the snipers. Yeah. They needed 2 snipers. And apparently one of the Secret Service guys got up on top of the garage and Brendan was inside. And he hears the Secret Service guy go, yeah, this is good. And he started jumping. And Brendan said the ceiling started coming.
Oh, my God.
And Brendan goes, no, it's not good. It's not good. And they settled on my neighbor's house. And I had to ask my neighbor, Dennis, would it be okay when the president comes if we put a couple snipers up there? He was thrilled. He's retired. And, this is a big day.
Yeah.
So that's how it converged on the house is what they do is they don't allow parking in the neighborhood. And they bring in, it was funny because a few days before, the eeriest thing about the whole operation was they set up these isolated phone lines I have 2-bedroom house, small house. In the second bedroom, these 2 boxes that were hooked up to special AT&T lines that if all communications went down, they would have access to the president. And I was like, hope we don't need to use those. But they were sort of humming along in there, before anyone got there. And I was like, that's a little intense, right? So they don't allow parking, and then they sent a crew to tent the driveway. So they basically, because their driveway comes up to the gate, which goes to another piece of the driveway, then to the garage. Yeah. So they tented that. They built a carport with a tent. They cleared out the neighborhood of cars. The snipers came. They needed to put the dogs through the house, and that was almost a deal breaker. I had 3 cats.
Oh my God.
So I said to the guys, I'm like, I got these cats. I don't know if the dog is going to be okay with me. And they were like, you serious? I'm like, yeah, kind of. And they were like, look, we'll do the dogs you lock the cats in the bedroom. We'll do the rest of the house with the dogs, and we'll check the room in the back by hand. We'll just go in there and look under the bed. So they saw the terrified cats and cleared the house. But so the day of, about 15 Secret Service agents come and they converge on the house and they brief in the small living room. And then about a dozen LAPD. And we had 4 or 5 listening stations out on the deck that we'd set up with headphones. The White House brought someone to record. They brought the photographer, and we waited. I was just sort of hanging around. It was just me and Brendan and all the enforcement people. I was just playing guitar, trying to keep my head in the game. And then I was told that when the president is 20 minutes out, we'll give you a heads up, and you're going to meet him in front of the garage. He'll walk up the driveway. And I'm like, okay. And then 20 minutes, some time goes by and we see the Ospreys that are the escorts for the helicopter, the president. So we see them in the air and then you see the helicopter. It's right. They're flying from here, from the Beverly, they were at the Hilton or somewhere. Yeah. They're flying him to the Rose Bowl and meeting the motorcade there because that's 5 minutes from my house. So they wouldn't tie up the entire city. So when I saw those, I'm like, I think he's close, right? I mean, it's right there. And then I went and stood there with a Secret Service guy. And then, I saw cars going by in the street. And then, up through the tunnel, all these people come. There were staffers. It looked like about 10, 12 people. And I don't see the president. And I'm standing at my garage, and all of a sudden I see a hand go up, Mark. And there he is. There's President Obama. Yeah. And I'm like, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yeah. And he walks up and he's like, we're going to have a good time, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I hope so. Because we had heavy shit to deal with that I didn't anticipate. That horrendous shooting had happened the day before.
Oh, in San Bernardino?
No.
Which
at
one?
the church.
Oh, yes, in South Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah. Wow.
That was the day, 2 days before, and we didn't even know if he was going to come. We knew that the only thing that would stop the trip would be something of international crisis. And it wasn't clear whether he was going to come the day before. They were weighing it, and he came. So things had to be addressed.
Right.
And, and we did it.
How soon after you recorded it did it go on the air? Because the press was all over it.
I do believe it probably went up the next day, and the press was all over it because he said the N-word in context of talking about racism. So
nicotine.
Yeah, exactly. Over and over again.
Over and over. So he's a smoker.
Yeah, I know. But it was offensive.
Yeah,
it was offensive. You say nicotine 3 or 4 times. It's enough already. We get it.
Yeah. And forget about vinegar. Don't say vinegar around me.
No, can't do it. But he said it, in a conversation, and I registered it, but I didn't think it was, I've heard it before. I'm a comedian. But it was a big deal to people.
It's a big, right.
And they all took it out of context, and it became a real viral thing. And it was upsetting to me because, the interview was a big interview, and the point he was making was a real point. But the right wing media just said how he gets to say it, and
oh my God,
as they do.
Well, that whole argument is so ridiculous. It's why can't we say it? What are you talking about?
Right.
You can say whatever you want. Just know that if you do say that, you're going to be hanging around with other people that say that, and if that's who your friends are going to be, well, then you have some self-searching.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But the interview was pretty amazing, and the amazing thing about it was because I get asked now, what would you have Trump on? I'm like, if he would play by the same rules, which was that they did not vet the questions. They gave us final edit, because this is a thoughtful, intelligent man who can handle himself.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, sure, if we get control, and they did not vet the questions. They didn't have an edit. They did it. They left. We chose to do 2 interviews post Obama, which was Chris Hayes and Terry Gross. And then in terms of the sort of media.
What do you mean 2 post interviews?
Well, I mean, people wanted to talk to me.
Oh, I see. Right.
Because it was sort of an event to have Obama come to your house.
Right. And did you edit his interview?
No, not really. I don't think so.
How long was it?
An hour, right on the button. We had an hour. He came. We walk into the garage. There was one Secret Service guy behind me that I didn't see. There was some weird piece of equipment that was there for security that I didn't know what it was. It was some sort of mat, some sort of flak mat in case something went down.
Did the look on his face when he walked into the garage, which is kind of
cluttered.
It's cluttered. Did you register any disgust on his face?
No, he talked about it. He goes, "Wow, a lot of pictures of you in here. It's a little narcissistic, isn't it?" But he also went to college down the street, so it was an interesting departure
He went
point.
to Occidental.
Yeah, for a bit.
That's right.
So he had lived in the neighborhood.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? So the conversation.
How much, and are you're younger than him? Because I think I'm 9 months older than him, which is the first time in my lifetime where I'm older than a president.
I'm 53.
Yeah, so you're way younger than him.
Yeah.
It's such talk about a career defining moment for you. Before that, what was your other career defining moment? You've got the show on IFC.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of episodes this morning on Hulu or Netflix, one of those.
Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, and that I saw the 4th season. Is that show still going on?
No, I stopped it. The 4th season was the last season. I felt like we had done what we set out to do.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not like Law and Order, where 22 seasons later.
I didn't see the point.
There's money.
Right, but for me, the podcast does all right, and I have a pretty small life, and I'm not really a money guy. I don't want to not have it, but I'm not in a crisis, and I don't seem to. I'm not one of those people that as I make money, I match my life to the amount of money. As I make money, I'm still in that shitty house. I haven't fixed it. Yeah. It's almost embarrassing now. But maybe that speaks more to my anxiety or fear than anything else.
It's a very smart thing, actually.
But the weird thing about the whole podcast in general was by the time I started it, I was pretty much, out of the game and washed up, and I'd really let go.
As a comic.
Well, I mean, I was doing comedy, but I didn't have a draw. I was always doing pretty good comedy, but I never was a ticket seller. I never made a break. So, and I've been around a long time. So it was really an act of desperation that did not have any real, I had no ability to monetize at that time. None of us did. There was no, the medium, I just had good cosmic timing that the medium grew along with me, and I helped define the medium to a certain degree. That was a fluke, not a plan. And we eventually learned how to monetize all of us on some level over time as the medium grew. But by the time I'd started, I had to really wrestle with what am I going to do at this point? I'm 49 or however old I was, 45. I didn't make it the way I thought I would make it, and I've got to be a grown up and realize my limitations to some degree and accept that. And maybe I'm not going to have a TV show. Maybe I'm not going to be a big comic, but I didn't want to be a little comic either. That was the other terrifying thing, was if the only way I could make a living was being an unknown headliner doing, B rooms, I would rather be dead. So I was really at a weird place. But the point I'm making is that letting go of that stuff, that like in my heart, like, all right, well, this is life. It didn't work out the way I'd planned, and I'm going to have to live with that. Then the podcast starts, and I had no real expectation out of it or anything, but, I started to talk, and it became popular. And then now these opportunities start to happen. Like, now I get, because of the podcast is popular, then I get the TV show opportunity, I get a book opportunity. And these are things I was like, I didn't anticipate. So because of that, it was like, yeah, okay, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
I was excited to do it, but because I'd let it go, I knew I could do it.
Right.
Nothing was hanging on it.
So you feel secure in saying goodbye to the TV show because this your natural intuition or your own flow and ebb, whatever, is actually guiding your career.
Right. Because
once you let go, it was able to.
Right. And because I was making a living on the podcast and stand-up was starting to come around, and the TV show, as a young comic, you want to have a TV show. So we did the TV show, and I did it on IFC, which most people don't watch. And we did it. They let us do it pretty much exactly how we wanted. I had the experience. We did 49 episodes. We did 4 seasons. And, the 4th season was a tremendous creative and personal departure for the show that did things that, the only way I wanted to do the 4th season is if we took some risks. And we did. And it found a bit of a following. And once it got to Netflix, it did well. And I was proud of it. But what do you do? Like, why go back? Like, most of those shows have a structure that is repeated. So, like, after the 4th season, which was sort of mind-blowing, what are we going to go back to the garage and just repeat this format and refill it? Why? The money's okay. It's not, it's not network money. And really it became about working with a network, a cable network. They gave us a lot of creative freedom, but didn't have financial incentive because they don't have money, really. You look at the ads on IFC, it's not like they're hiding money. So if you can't even get a significant enough bump season to season to put money back into the show to take more risks or do more things, it's sort of like, well, why?
Yeah. I hear you. But the thing is, and we're going to go to break too, you have a voice. And as you're telling the story, I'm thinking about the different situations I would put that voice, this character, into, whether it's in a family or whether it's as an air traffic controller or whether you are a therapist who needs therapy or whatever. I mean, there's still, because of the show and because of the podcast, we know the voice. We've come to love the voice. So let's see it in let's put it in women's clothing or something. Is
that the next one? You know what? I'm doing I did a show for Netflix called The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow. So I'm not in women's clothing, but I am in 1980s clothing, surrounded by 14 women.
That's good. That's a
Super
start.
hot.
I'm very
Super
proud
hot.
of you.
Those were amazing. Those glow.
Oh
those
my
glow
God!
wrestlers.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Marc Maron. Hey, Michelle, how easy is it to cook the recipes in the Blue Apron?
Listen, first of all, back in the day when we didn't have Blue Apron, I'd have to go into the recipe book.
Yeah.
I got to go into my recipe book over here. And then you look and then you write everything down.
Oh, dear.
But 9 times out of 10, I even use an app on my phone for grocery shopping. So I, like sometimes you forget. I write it down right away so I don't forget.
Yeah.
And then I get to the grocery store, I buy everything, I come home, and I'm inevitably missed 1 or 2 things.
Oh, dear.
Because you're talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And long story short, Blue Apron gets rid of all of that. It takes care of everything you need for the recipes. And what I love about Blue Apron most of all, of course, it's easy. It's healthy. They use their own farmers, their own fisheries, their own people, so they know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
They're not trusting. It's all sustainable. It's really, really healthy. And the good thing is each meal is under $10.
That is the part that is so incredible.
I feed a family of 4.
That's wild.
Under $10 a meal. And it's free shipping. A lot of these places charge, $29 on top of it to ship. Free shipping with Blue Apron.
So even if I'm in Wyoming,
Yep.
where we have the ranch,
Yep.
I can get Blue Apron
They'll
there.
deliver Blue Apron. They deliver to 99% of the U.S.
That is
99%.
amazing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
It's unbelievable. And everything is measured out, Rue. So your card's here. You put it up there. You go, okay, this is what I need. It comes in a little bag thing. You have your knickknacks here. That they call them knickknacks, like the seasonings. And
Fixinings,
yeah. Right there. The meat is separate. Or if you're doing a vegetarian meal, everything is laid out. My husband did it the whole time I was on tour for 6 months. It's foolproof. It really,
I
really
want you
is.
to send me a picture of the next time you make a meal. Because
Okay.
what are the meals you have coming up that you're going to cook?
The meal I have coming up is the 3 cheese and baby broccoli stromboli with tomato and oregano.
Ooh,
and
that sounds so good.
The beef teriyaki stir fry, because Lola, if I could put her mouth just on a cow, she would eat the whole cow.
Oh, so she's a meat eater.
Carnivore the house down. The opposite of me. Like, my eyes tear a little, I'm not going to lie. But I'll cook it for her. Beef teriyaki stir fry with sugar snap peas and lime rice. They've also got crispy salmon and roasted potato salad with pickled mustard seeds and creme fraiche sauce.
Wow. And are the recipes easy to read?
So, no, literally they make it so any person can do it. My husband is not a cook. I've been with him for 20 years. He's never been a cook. When I met him, he's like, I make great omelets. His omelets suck. And I think he's made it twice in 20 years, right? He was just bragging.
Yeah.
He makes these recipes.
Oh.
He had a contest with my friend Stephanie, who we got set up. We gave her the 3 free meals, like the offer that we've got.
Yeah.
I told her about it, put her name on the mailing list. She got 3 free meals, and they were having like a little Facebook food contest.
Yeah.
Really unbelievable, you guys. Flexible. You can customize your recipe each week based on your preferences, which is important.
Yeah,
Really,
it
really
is.
important. So check out this week's menu. You could download the app, or you can get your first 3 meals free on their website with, I said it before, I'll say it again, free shipping. Go to blueapron.com/Rue, or the app, like I said, blueapron.com/RU. Blue Apron is going to change your life, and it's a better way to cook.
We are back with Marc Maron. You mentioned the glamorous ladies,
Gorgeous ladies.
gorgeous ladies. Ready. Tell me how close is that to what we remember as
The actual
Glow
gorgeous
Girls.
ladies. Well, the Glow Girls, from what I understand.
The show is called Glow Girls.
No, it's called Glow.
Okay.
They were called Glow
Yeah.
Girls.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The show, from what I understand, they were able to get the name, and they definitely honored the original women aesthetic, because this was another thing about letting go of things. Like, I'd finished my show, and I didn't really want to tour as a stand-up. I didn't want to do anything, and I just wanted to relax and live life and do my podcast. And I get this, my agent, my manager, someone in my management office found this script, and my agent sent it to me, these sides. I don't even remember if I read the whole script. I must have. And it was for a show. I didn't know anything about it, but I read the character they're looking for, and I was just sort of like, I can be this guy. Like, I can do this. This is well written, and I can be this guy. He's not exactly like me, but it's in my wheelhouse. So I said, I'll try. Who do I go in to see? And they're like, well, they're not really reading people here. You can put yourself on tape. And I'm like, okay. So I got my physical trainer, the woman who I train with a few days a week when I'm around. She's an actress as well, of course. So
of course.
I call her. I go, we read the other side of this. And we went to this office that I lease, and I got my part-time assistant on the iPhone, and I went down the street to the women who own the eyeglasses place, and I got some aviators, like, 'cause it's from the 80s, mid-80s.
Yeah.
I thought, this guy wears aviators. And I put on a Lacoste shirt, and I just did the scene, and we shot 3 takes of it and sent it to my agent. She sent it out, and I got cast off of that.
Wow.
And it's Genji Cohen.
Oh,
is doing
wow.
it.
Yeah.
And Liz Flahive and Carly Mensch created the show, and they're both from Orange is the New Black and Weeds, and they're really smart and great writers. And I got cast as this guy, and the angle of the show is, because they gave us a lot of research material, but he's not based on anybody, because we couldn't really do that. So the angle of this show is, and I think it was also with the original Glow, was that it was supposed to be a TV show that kind of rode the coattails of the Hulk Hogan craze in the first wave. So it was created as a TV show. So that was the idea, is that I play this kind of washed up, movie director who has done a couple of sort of slasher movies, who's trying to put together another movie, who gets brought in by this young guy who wants to do a wrestling TV show, and he's got money. So the promise to me is, like, I'll fund your next movie if you put together this show. So I got to act as the manager and the director and the guy who creates this TV show. So I got to cast these women as wrestlers. And then and I said, like, how much do I need to know? And they're like, character knows nothing about wrestling. And I'm like, perfect. So I don't have to do any research.
Yeah.
So that was the premise. And then all these women had to learn how to wrestle, and they all did learn how to wrestle.
Wow.
And it was very moving.
Wow.
You know, as because I play this, like, as an actor, I can do a few things. You know, I can be me, or what I've learned is that I can turn things off in me to honor the character. Like, this guy's not really a neurotic character. He's a little ego-driven and a little cranky, but he's not self-effacing. He's not neurotic.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, so I just shut that off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I honor the script, and maybe I can do this. I hope it came out well.
Now, who's it for? Is it for Netflix?
Yeah.
And do you have any idea when it's going to come out?
Yeah, June 29th, I think.
And
That's
so,
amazing.
who are some of the ladies? Is it like all these young girls like Selena Gomez and
It's Allison Brie is the
Love
lead,
her.
Betty Gilpin.
uh-huh.
I should know all their names by the time. Kia, what's her last name? One woman was an actual wrestler. I you know what? This is going to be helpful for my press junket.
Yeah.
I really need to know.
Yeah.
Kate, they're all. None of them were wrestlers, and a lot of them came from different places. Some of them are actors. Some of them, Kia's an actual wrestler, but a lot of them, it's their first gig.
Yeah.
But the fascinating thing is that the ring, you know, we shot at these studios, which were right by my house, another cosmic stroke of luck. I didn't even know they were there.
Wow.
In Atwater, 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, wow.
There's 3 stages there that apparently the guy who owns them just built a courtroom set and a police set, and he rents out to procedurals.
Oh, I've worked there.
Yeah.
I've worked at that. I've seen the court because you know they used to do the William Shatner show there with what was it Boston Public.
Oh, yeah. I think that's right.
That's where. Yeah, I've worked there before.
Yeah, those stages, and you know, in working with Allison and Betty, but me and Allison have this thing. It's not a romantic thing, but we're underdogs.
Yeah.
And she is just a genius actress. Like, it's a very hard character that she did. She plays an actress who's desperate for a role. And, you know, she's going out for these horrible auditions, and she comes out to do this audition for a show she doesn't know, and it's this wrestling thing.
Right.
And all she wants to do is, you know, get a job.
Yeah.
So to ride that line of sort of desperate, ambitious, and charming is not easy. It's tricky.
Yes.
And she did it so brilliantly. And like, I get to watch, we set up this whole gym thing. So there's a ring.
Yeah.
So I get to watch from my office these women doing what is essentially, you know, this, you know, almost like dance, like stagecraft, you know, like they're engaging in this physical stuff. There were times where I'd like get choked up just at the physicality of it. Like when you see a play or a musical, so many people engaging like that, it's moving, the humanity of it. So the stories are great, and they all, like, you know, became wrestlers, and the outfits, like, it's true to the time, 1986, but it's not camp. It's tricky to not overdo that.
Yeah, because Glow was camp.
Yeah.
Well, it was camp in retrospect, right? I mean, at the time,
that's what I mean. Then,
right?
Yeah.
They were wearing what they was available. You know, unfortunately, outfits in the 80s. You know, looking at them, because I did for 3 months, not the most flattering time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Now, wasn't Jackie Stallone involved in the Glow?
She was.
Yeah, and the show's June 23rd is when it starts.
Okay.
on Netflix.
Yes.
I got to get all this stuff.
Is there a
together.
Jackie Stallone character?
Who she was the sort of matriarch.
She
Okay,
was.
well-
Jackie. Well, for people who don't know, of course, is Sylvester Stallone's mother is Jackie Stallone, who's still with us. You know, but I just want to go back.
No, here's what it is. It's really about the primary characters are, you know, Allison Brie plays this desperate actress who gets cast. I cast her, and then she's got a best friend who was a soap opera actress, a successful actress played by Betty Gilpin, who has recently retired because she had a baby. It's not clear whether she got fired from the soap opera or she took a baby leave. But they're best friends, and there's a tension to that because, you know, one's successful and one isn't. And I have to, I don't want to give away any of the story. I have to somehow, there's a tension between them that's natural and earned, and I have to cajole Betty into coming out of baby retirement to be part of the wrestling team.
I see.
And part of it is to sort of, you know, fight with Alice.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to go back for a minute. A minute ago, you said that for this character, you were able to extract the neuroticism out of your character. She said, in your wheelhouse is, you know, you acting like you with
Intense, cranky, smart.
Yeah. But you were able to take that out of a performance. How were you able to do this? Is that years of therapy? When did you become aware
No.
that you could do that?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I am who I am, but like theoretically, the job is actor, and I don't claim to be a great actor, but after doing 4 seasons and learning how to be in front of a camera, and
Did you watch yourself? Would you watch the episodes?
on my show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I had to, because I was part of the editing, I was part of the writing, I was, and I was, I directed a couple.
Was it through that process that you were going, oh, I get it. I see what I'm doing.
I got comfortable, like I knew from watching peers of mine who were comics kind of, do their first seasons of shows. You're not going to get it right the first season. You're going to be stiff. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a learning curve. There just is. It's the nature of it. So I was able to know that and accept that and not beat myself up too hard. Like have the faith that like, all right, if I'm, I'm going to figure out how to do this. I know I can listen. I know I can be on stage. I know, I'm not self-conscious when a camera is there, but like there's still something you got to learn from doing it.
Yes.
So I think with the experience of doing my show, a lot of that stuff was in place. But with the one thing that I could definitely grow as an actor, because there are certain things I need to learn how to do. But the one thing I knew was that, look, this is not me. I have to honor the script. These writers are good. So whatever I need is going to be on the page. And if they want me to add something, they'll ask me to. And maybe we'll do a little riffing. But if the guy's on the page, that's the guy I play. So if he's not going like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Where am I going to be? What happened? When does this happen? Then I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's me. That's not this guy.
Right.
So
Right.
play that. Play the script.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what was in my head. In terms of turning it down. Because it's a finite amount of time. It's not your whole life. And when they go, all right, action, you're that guy.
Yeah.
And that guy's not, you may be, somewhere in my mind, I'm going like, maybe being me. But you try and shut that down, engage with the immediate environment of what's happening in the scene, and honor the script. And that should, pull you through.
Right. Now, in stand-up, I've done it for so many years. At what point in your stand-up career did you find your voice? Did you get up there with your voice, or did you, a year or 2 years?
I think that really for me, I'm not sure I got into stand-up to be an entertainer. I think I was solving what I thought were either, the problems of humanity or my own problems, that I needed a place that was mine where I could, express myself freely. And I tried a lot of different things through college and stuff, writing, poetry, acting a bit, photography. Like I was always a creatively driven person. But I think in retrospect, the drive was to, find myself. So for the first decade or so, I was very angry. I was defiant on stage. I was a shocking comedian. I was provocative. And, it was it was really kind of, fuck you, like me. And I used to do a bit on stage where I'd say, that's what I do. I push the audience away and see if I can pull them back. I push them away and try and pull them back. It's a little dynamic I call dad. So like, in looking at my evolution as a comic, what ultimately happened was I was very scared and very defensive, but funny, but it was really button pushing funny. And about 5 or 6 years ago, after I got some notoriety for the podcast, and the podcast enabled me to really, be all that I am, personality-wise. Not funny, sensitive, sad, whatever. It was really all of me. So once people started coming out to see that, they knew me from the podcast. I'm like, well, they know me. So why, I don't have to be defensive.
Right.
And, once I kind of built an audience, and that kind of played over even with people that don't know me. What happened was something relaxed. And then one day, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was waiting to go on stage. And I just had this moment where I'm like, I live here. And I've lived here a long time. And there's nothing frightening about this.
Wow.
And like, I'm actually excited. Whereas before I used to be like, oh, fuck. They're not going to like me. What am I going to do out there?
Yeah.
How's this going to go? Oh, that guy can just looking back from the curtain. That guy's going to be a problem. That kind of
Well, some things don't change. Those people still exist.
Right. But like for me, it was like I get on
Perception.
stage, I'll go to the sound check and I'll be like, this is going to be great. This is like, I'm excited. And like, I'm more comfortable up there than I am in a lot of other parts of my life.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. That's your space.
Yeah.
You have control of that space. It's your time. And this is what I do. And that really happened fairly recently.
Well, that's interesting. We're going to go to break, but that's interesting because I know everyone in show business or every artist is looking for that sweet spot where they feel comfortable. And I was just just wondering how it happens and how are you able to get out of your own way to allow that to come through. On our show, we see these kids come and we give them challenges to do, and they go through that same process that you just described, which is, oh, that girl's going to be a problem. But I'm not funny. What are you talking about? And where does that live in a human's consciousness that they have to continue that same cycle, which is such an interesting, that's why I was interested.
Shame.
It's shame, but it's also it's habits. It's
Comfort zone.
It's a habit of feeling. Listen, I talked about this on your podcast, where I come from the East Village, a bunch of kids. We all came to New York to become stars with Andy Warhol or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of those kids who came to New York are still there, doing the same thing because they branded themselves a starving artist. So there were many times when I said, take my hand, there's a place for you at the writer's table, come with me. They couldn't do it because they were still stuck in that limited perception of themselves.
It's safe.
It's safe, and right, because you don't have to really get up there and be naked.
And you can complain still.
And you can still complain. We got Marc Maron. We're going to take a quick break. All right. Okay, let's get real, Michelle. Let's talk about poop.
I'm in.
You know what? Everybody does it, and everybody is kind of doing it incorrectly.
Yes.
If you really want to eliminate your poop, all the waste in your colon, you've got to get a Squatty Potty, because the Squatty Potty aerodynamically
Yes, that's a good word.
allows your colon to unkink.
That's it. Squatting in the bathroom, just like Ru says, unkinks the colon, and that allows our body to shed all of that unwanted literal crap that's in there. Squatty Potty offers multiple toilet stool designs, making your porcelain throne fit for any king or queen.
I love that clear one. You've got the clear one,
I
don't
do.
you?
I do have a white plastic one.
Yeah.
I have the wood, like the teak.
I
wood.
have the teak one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have two clear ones. Like I told you, I literally have them in every single bathroom, because after I had problems, this is personal.
Yeah.
But I had issues with constipation for years.
Yeah.
Years and years. When I got everything together and changed my diet and cleaned, this is a necessity.
Yeah.
Because when I started getting colonics and got my body like into this well-oiled machine, I still wasn't pooping correctly. Squatty Potty changed my life.
You know, we just redid the New York place. I've got to get some Squatty Potties for New York.
Yes, you have to. And those new ones we're talking about, it's called the Squatty Potty Clear.
Oh,
Yeah.
So futuristic.
It is. It's like lucite, and it goes with every single thing. That's what I love about it. And it doesn't just help you squat, you guys, Squatty Potty. They sell these toilet sprays that smell incredible called Fruity Booty.
What did you call me?
I called you a Fruity Booty bitch all the way. And they have bidets that are like $38. It costs 10 minutes to install, super easy. So it's also less waste for the universe and all that
Sure.
stuff, like carbon
Yeah.
footprint. So join the movement by visiting squattypotty.com/Ru. And guys, you get to choose between the 7-inch
Uh-huh.
or the 9-inch,
What?
if you're ready.
Oh, my goodness.
I can only handle the
Michelle.
7-inch, Ru.
Uh-huh.
I know that's, not what's written on bathroom walls.
Right. I have the 7-inch, but I I'd have to work my way up to the 9-inch.
I think you're ready.
Okay, if you think so.
Ru,
Uh-huh.
the time has come.
Okay. All right.
Join the movement, you guys, literally by visiting squattypotty.com/Ru and receive a free bottle of Fruity Booty toilet spray with a purchase of $20 or more. Remember, a happy colon is a happy life, and Squatty Potty, we love you.
That's right. Get your life.
Get your life, Squatty Potty. Squatty Potty.
We are back with Marc Maron. So much to talk about. My goodness. And now, Michelle, I saw the Marc Maron. It's called Maron on. I saw it on Netflix. Hilarious. At one point, the character talks about Sam Kinison. Did you ever work with him?
Oh, yeah.
You did.
And when I was a kid, yeah, I was the doorman at the Comedy Store down the street.
Really? When did you come out here to Hollywood?
I came out after college. I guess it was 87.
Uh-huh.
And, I kicked around. I wrote a screenplay with my buddy Steve Brill, and then we became not friends, but we're friends again. I'm actually going to a premiere of his tonight. He does Sandler's movies. And then I auditioned over there for Mitzi, and she gave me a job as a doorman and a non-paid regular, and I was there about a month, and then that monster took me under his wing, and I was already well on my way to having a full-fledged cocaine and booze problem, and I did my graduate work cutting lines for Sam.
Wow. Wow.
But he was something.
Well, I the cocaine thing is an interesting thing for me because I dabbled myself, but
Uh-huh.
and when I don't know how a person is able to sustain a habit because your body starts bleeding. Your body says, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how people can do it for year after year after year.
That drug? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple of drugs I don't know how they do. It seems that some people can have a prolonged success if they don't get out of control with
Right.
alcohol. And yeah,
But wouldn't with Coke, like my nose would stop up. My nose would literally close up to where I couldn't breathe. I couldn't put anything up
People's
there.
noses collapse.
yeah, no, that happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never got to that point. But, it's weird when you're in it. You think of all little remedies. You put water up there.
Sure.
You're constantly blowing your nose.
Or the Apron, or, use
Apron's
what
bad, yeah.
Stevie Nicks did. You know what the Stevie Nicks thing to do is the booty bump. You've heard of the booty bump, right?
Well, that's not.
Does that work?
Well, you can't really do that with other people.
Well, you've got to be. Listen,
That
at the-
depends.
I guess you can. That's
Yeah.
true.
at the end of a big Coke run, at one point you want to get high. So, a booty bump is probably going to be the best.
Everything wears down, everything wears off, and it starts to take more. I was fortunate that, somehow I, in terms of losing control of my life completely, I always had this weird thing that if I started to lose my mind, I would stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my mind. Between the lack of sleep and being around that, devil that Sam was, that
Mhm.
bully, lunatic, I started, hearing voices in my head, and,
Mhm.
I got out there.
Mhm.
And I left.
Were you? So you weren't with Sam Kinison at the end?
Hell
of it?
no.
No.
You're lucky.
Yeah. Were people predicting that? Because how did he die? He had a heart attack.
No, he got in a car accident.
Oh, was he
But
driving?
He was driving, but someone hit him.
I
It's a
see.
head-on collision. The weird thing about Sam is he was a fairly wrong-minded guy,
Mm,
but a very powerful comedian
mhm.
and ballsy. When I got to LA, I was not really a fan, but when I saw him work live, I'm like, holy shit. He's taking it out
Mhm.
there. He's carving out new territory
Mhm.
for people to fill in a way. If this is the boundary pusher, this is it. Him and Hicks, Hicks was a lot more high-minded and decent. But Sam was a bit of a monster, and he was a preacher. But so I didn't. We always thought he would die.
Did he think he would die early?
I think because he was a preacher, whatever he thought was that, if he had a few seconds at the end, Jesus would take him back.
Right.
So he was going to be as bad as he could be.
Negotiate.
Yeah. Because he was a real deal
Sure.
Christian.
Yeah.
But the weird what?
How do you be a real deal Christian and do the amount of drugs that Sam Kinison
I really
did?
think that he had navigated something in his mind, because he comes from a family of preachers,
Right.
real deal Baptist
Right.
preachers. And I think that, I really think it became about being the antithesis of that, being, satanic, and then, really testing the idea. I think that if I'm not mistaken, the nature of the Christian gig is that if you got a second to ask for forgiveness, you'll get it.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So he wanted to take that out.
Now, so you came.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. You came here and did the stand-up gig like '87, which was.
But I was like a non-paid regular. I was lost. I was like this, kind of a half a hippie kid with a bad, not, a lot of coke. And then inside a year, I hit the wall. I was living at the Comedy Store, literally. Mitzi rented the house up top behind
Mitzi
the store.
being Mitzi Shore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was there in that, halfway house for comics, basically.
Who
And
else was up there?
There were people in and out. Sam lived there. No, he didn't live there, but Tamayo Otsuki, who
Mhm.
Sam used to date, lived there. So it was my job to sort of set up the parties on the Monday nights, the no cover nights. So he'd give me a bunch of money. I'd buy the booze. He'd come up there with the freaks and terrorize Tamayo, because they were broken up. So it got ugly. It'd go on for 2 or 3 days. So when I was there, Tamayo was there, Todd Lemish, Jimmy Schubert for a little while, the sound guy, Todd.
A lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of rooms there. I was in Dice's old room. Dice had
Mhm.
lived there briefly, not when I was there, but it was a notorious place.
Is
Crest
that-
Hill.
Is that scene, the comic scene in LA? Of course, all these comics come from around the United States to LA to emulate the path of so many, and
greats.
there are so many who've come through that place who are huge people.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Saturday Night Live is also that thing too. But
Sketch is sort of like the primary source of comic talent.
Has the sketch storyline replaced that sort of comedy
it has
store
a bit,
thing?
I think. Well, no, the comedy's very healthy right now. You know, the store was struggling and it went through a lot of weird times. And Mitzi got sick and she's still ill and she's no longer in charge. Her son Peter has the reins to the club, and he sort of cleaned it up and made it put security in and got it running correctly. And he's up in Portland. And Paulie's around, but he doesn't have the reins of the place. But now, between all of us working there and tweeting about it, and this kid Brenton over at the store, he does a lot of social networking. We all became sort of proud of the place. It's always packed, and it's a diverse audience. And there's all kinds of people coming in. There's a lot of comics around.
Is the debauchery still?
I'm old and I'm sober, so I don't know. I imagine it doesn't feel like it's at the level it was because it was sort of accepted during the late '80s. You had the Roxy up here, and there was this direct line between the porn industry, the rock and roll industry, and the comedy industry.
Yes,
and it all sort of filtered through Sam. So this whole area, this 5-mile radius, was just a cocaine clusterfuck.
Yeah,
and it was everywhere. Is it like that? No.
Yeah. Right. It's so funny for people who come into the business. There is no real route to take. And you named all these people who used to live there, and you obviously have found success in this business.
It was right under the wire.
Well,
it didn't matter.
It happened, but I think about all those people. What happens to all those people? The names, a lot of those names I've never heard of before.
I can tell you.
What happens to them?
They're still living upstairs in the comedy store.
No, it's a hard business. It's a sad business. And comedy is like a little more what's the word I want? Unforgiving. But the other thing about stand-up is that if you remain funny, you can go be funny somewhere. But depending on what your expectations are and where you fall in the game, it's a very hard thing to leave. And that was one of the things I had to deal with when I started the podcast. It's like, I would rather kill myself than quit because the pride involved. How do you do that? But a lot of smarter people than me at different junctures have, they stopped and they went and worked, found a job, where, some in the business. A lot of people that start in stand-up, they know well enough that if they've got a knack for writing jokes, they can become writers, producers, showrunners. They can write for other people. Those are smart people. The people that put all their eggs in the stand-up basket, that's a real crapshoot. And there's only about 10 dudes, at any given time, making a good living doing stand-up. If you're one of the other 5,000, you're hammering it out there on the road. Yeah. And it doesn't end well for a lot of guys. And there's a lot of sad stories out there.
Do you find that with your success that the people you run into those people, and do you have to sort of negotiate your success in a way to not make them feel bad about their lack of success?
Well, the one thing about my success is that no one's going to say that it came easy or that I didn't earn it.
Right.
And that's a rare position to be in. Like I'm happy being the level I'm at. I don't want to be Louis. I don't want to sell out arenas. I don't want to be Aziz. I don't want to be Chappelle. That seems like way too much pressure. It's hard to live a life. And I don't have that weird ambition of like half of me is sort of like, I'd like to quit working tomorrow. These, some of these guys are like, they keep going out. It's like, how much money you need, man? And it's about something else.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, at this point, it's got to be about something else.
Well, you saw the Joan Rivers documentary where she would continue this quest to be. She say, look at this piece of my program, my calendar here. These empty spots that's death to me. Yeah. And it's like, lady, you're Joan Rivers. You're worth $200 million. At what point is it okay?
She said in that documentary that she felt that she hadn't made it yet.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really feel that anymore. And in this culture we live in, since making it is so fractured. Correct. And that if you find your people and you can, show up for them and make a living, that's a great thing. But in terms of I just try not to because if I get righteous or I get cocky, it's very unappealing. So I try to be respectful of other people. And, I know from being a bitter comic for most of my life and spiting people who are more successful than me and resenting them and being, hostile to them, that, I might have some of that coming, but I don't provoke it. Right. And, I try to, when I go on the road, use new people, use local people. Sadly, just bad news today, I had this woman open for me in Austin last weekend. this woman, LaShonda Lester, who did a beautiful job and was very funny, passed away yesterday.
Oh.
I read about that. Yeah.
And I just met her and I just saw her and she just opened for me. I guess she had kidney problems and heart problems. I don't know what happened, but it's devastating. And she's about to do her first special. And
Oh man,
it's a hard life all around. But I do try to give back. I think always felt that the podcast was giving back to the community of comics, and that and I try. It does get a little overwhelming because when people see an outlet, they want it. They want, why can't I do this for you? Will you do this for me? And, a lot of times I just detach completely. And I used to hate people that did that to me. Why don't you email me back? And after a certain point, it's not out of disrespect. It's like, you don't know how much of this is coming at me.
Right.
And I don't know how to handle it.
Right.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's not really your job to explain how show business works. A lot of people still don't understand.
Well, what I always used to say is show business is not your parents.
Right.
And it took me 20 years to realize it's a fucking job. It's not a meritocracy.
That's right.
There's no guarantees, and you chose it.
Yep. That's right.
and it don't owe you nothing.
It doesn't. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you grow up in the sort
I
of.
just want to be a star.
Yeah. It's like, honey, there's so much more to it than that. But we grew up in kindergarten with this idea of equality and what's fair. It's like one for you, one for me, one for her. But in real life, that is actually not how it is. Sometimes
It's horrible.
she gets a lot more,
Yeah.
or and it doesn't even has nothing to do with even talent. There's so many factors. But it was so great talking to you. You're such a smart guy, and it's interesting catching you at this point in your life with being as reflective as you are, and really understanding what your voice is and where
who
it
you
comes
are.
and who you are and
Thank
where
God.
it comes from.
Yeah, thank God it's right. But you can tell you've done the work. You've done the hard yards.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Everybody should be so lucky to be able to, come full circle and to actually get to a point where you can enjoy it.
Well, that's the next phase.
I believe that you can do
You're
it.
on your
Thank
way.
you very
I
much.
believe
Yeah.
you can do it. Well, Marc Maron, thank you so much for
Great
joining
seeing you.
us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
All right. And Michelle, my darling,
Till
until
next time.
Bye.
Can I get an amen? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
And don't forget to subscribe
get an
on
amen?
iTunes.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Amen.